Donald Trump went to a Nationals game in Washington, D.C., and he got booed. There were individuals who were chanting, "Lock him up, lock him up." So he was not a fan fave by any means. However, there are some Democratic lawmakers who are very unhappy and disturbed with those chants. Let's hear from Chris Coons.
I'm enough of a sort of traditionalist about our institutions that even at a time when there is a lot that our president does that I find disturbing, offensive, unconventional, I have a hard time with the idea of a crowd on a globally televised sporting event chanting "lock him up" about our president. I frankly think the office of the president deserves respect even when the actions of our president at times don't. I certainly hope that we won't hear "lock him up" chants at Democratic rallies or at our convention. I think that's one of the most regrettable, even at times despicable, actions by candidate Trump when he was running for president in 2016. It reminds me of things that happen in countries where rule of law is unknown or unestablished, and sort of whipping up public furor on both sides I don't think is constructive or helpful.
So I couldn't disagree with him more. One quick point before Cenk jumps in. We're not talking about a president who's simply a political opponent for Democrats. We're talking about someone who has committed crimes, someone who is being investigated right now for possible impeachment because of the fact that he tried to dig up dirt on his political opponents using the help of other foreign leaders, including the president of Ukraine, yes, but based on Trump's own admission, he reached out to the leader of China to dig up dirt on Joe Biden as well. And then later we found out that he wanted to dig up dirt on Elizabeth Warren in addition to Joe Biden. So he is breaking the law. This is not some regular political opponent that we disagree with. This is someone who doesn't deserve respect. And considering the fact that he went around, saying "lock her up" in regard to Hillary Clinton, I think it's rich for anyone, including Senator Chris Coons, to wag his finger at people who are chanting "lock him up" to an actual criminal.
First of all, the softness of these Democrats drives me nuts. So the Republicans will do and say anything about Democrats. They'll be incredibly vicious to Democrats. And instead of fighting back in kind so that we could have a real even match, the Democrats will send out guys like Chris Coons to unilaterally surrender and go, "Oh my God, it was so bad that he did it. We shouldn't do it in kind. We should just play patty cakes and we should be weak and feckless." Now that's partly his nature, Chris Coons, but it's also mainly because he loves working with Republicans and he loves the club. So Chris Coons has been one of the top allies for Republicans in the Senate. And if there's a tax cut to be passed for corporations and rich people, Chris Coons is all over it. Oh, you want to give legitimacy to the Prayer Breakfast, a fundamentalist Christian organization that worked with Russia, and we broke that story on TYT Investigates, and goes around the world trying to pass laws against LGBTQ members, extreme laws, etc. Chris Coons is there to help whitewash the whole event. He's the co-leader of the Prayer Breakfast, and I can go on and on about Chris Coons and how much he helps conservatives and Republicans, and he's so proud of it. He's like, "Oh yeah, well look." He bragged recently, just a couple of weeks ago, about how he helped the 5 most vulnerable Republican senators in the Senate by working with them. Well, congratulations, Chris. So it's unsurprising that he comes out here and goes, "Well, I got to tell you, we really shouldn't fight back against Donald Trump. When they go low, we should go so high that we float away in a cloud." Now, but the main reason he does it is because he values the club more than he values his voters or what is right in the world. So when he says, at the end, you heard him say it, whipping up public furor on both sides, I don't think is constructive or helpful. In other words, don't come for me. I don't want public furor on the right or the left because I'm not on the left. So I don't want progressives getting mad at me. I don't want Republicans getting mad at me. I have such a cushy position inside the Senate. My chair is so comfortable. I love my power and prestige and wealth and all the things that I get from this, and I don't want to bother it at all. And if you go to bother Donald Trump, you might accidentally bother me. And so I don't care that you're right. I just rather have you be quiet and not fight back against anyone in power. And finally, what Anna said is so important Because if he was right about the content, then it would be a different conversation. If it turns out, we don't like Donald Trump and we want to put him in jail because we don't like him or we don't agree with his tax cuts, that would be outrageous and it would be authoritarian. But they said that about Hillary Clinton when she had committed no crimes. Now, I don't even like Hillary Clinton. I think that's pretty clear. But she didn't commit any crimes. Lock her up was outrageous and borderline fascist. But Donald Trump has 4 clear felonies. When you equate their chant about Hillary Clinton to the chant about Donald Trump, what you do is you wash away his crimes.
Yes.
By pretending he's done nothing wrong. And why do you do that? Because he's in your goddamn beloved club. And you hate it when real people react in a real way. Which of course brings us to Joe Scarborough.
Yep, without further ado, let's hear from Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski.
Again, I speak to the lock him up chants.
Yeah.
Again, it's un-American. It started with Donald Trump. In fact, he's made it a centerpiece of his campaign rallies.
Yeah, we find it sickening when it happens at his rallies. I find it kind of sickening to watch people leering at the president.
We are Americans, and we do not do that. We do not want the world hearing us chant, lock him up, to
yet he created
to this president or to any president. That's what I'm saying. Let's hope as we move forward, maybe this is one less fascist tactic he and his supporters use during chants, that you were going to actually imprison your political opponents.
See, what bothers me is the thoughtlessness of it. Like they put no thought into equating the two different things, because it's easy on the surface to say, lock her up, lock him up. Okay, but doesn't it depend, Joe? Doesn't it depend on what they did? So if you were chanting lock him up about Mother Teresa, people would be like, why are you doing that? That's really weird. If you were chanting lock him up about Charles Manson, people would be like, yeah, that makes sense. Can you imagine if they didn't lock up Charles Manson? People would be like, why didn't you lock him up? And they would get frustrated. They would get angry. And there's no way to express that anymore because none of our national politicians ever listen to people. All they do is listen to donors, right? So then the people might start chanting, lock him up. Because God damn it, he's a serial killer, lock him up, right? So of course it depends. It just takes 1 second of thought to make that distinction. And they say, nope, 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 it's all going after people in power. Don't do that, because Mika and Joe are people in power and they don't like it. So that's why Obama said the absurd thing that he did when he got into office. He said, we don't look backwards, we look forwards. If that applied to everyone else in America, no one would ever be in prison, because prosecutors would go and say, yes, he did rob that bank, but we don't look backward, we look forward. And no one would ever be prosecuted. Instead, when it's real Americans, we look backward all the time. But when it's people in power, everyone in power, no matter if they're Republicans or Democrats, conservative or liberals, go, don't look backward, don't look backward, because one day it might affect my beloved position. No, those are actual Americans frustrated because they can never actually be heard from their politicians. And so when they, in their frustration and in their accuracy, say, hey, for those 4 felonies, lock him up. Unlike those elitists, I say, I love it. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.